Greetings and salutations, my dear audience. This is Joe St. Egg Benedictus, just coming at you with a video regarding a revisit of this New Revised Standard Version Pew Bible that I received in the mail several weeks ago. Wanted to do a follow-up for two reasons. One, I want to show you a few things that I missed in my first review of it. And then second, want to add some ribbons to it. No ribbons. Look, I had to use a sheet of paper for like a bookmark for Bible study. That's no good. I don't want to do that. So I'm going to add some ribbons. Thought I'd hang out, chat a while. And while I do those ribbons, you can hang out with me if you want. I want to give a shout out to my pal Mike and to all the visionaries and mystics out there. Thank you for joining me. First, several things that I missed. This is Pew Bible from Hendrickson. Again, I already reviewed it, but one of the things I missed was, first of all, I'm really liking it. I'm enjoying it. I've used it a few times already, and aside from not having ribbon markers, which we're going to rectify today, the font is really good. It's very clear and easy to read. I'll hold it up a little bit. You can see just very nice, very easy to read. And something that's amazing. One, do you see any ghosting on that page? I don't. Ghosting is minimal. It's not, I told you the paper is cream, a little bit of a cream color. You can't tell from the video. There's very little ghosting, and wherever there is ghosting, it's line matched. You can't beat that. So the first thing we're going to do is going to add some ribbons to it. I have several different ribbons. I have, first of all, this very dainty, lacy white. I actually did use this on a Bible once. I put this on my Revised Standard Version Oxford Annotated Bible. It's the New Oxford Annotated Revised Standard Version. I put two of these on there. I barely use the Bible, but they're a little too light and a little bit too fragile to use in a Bible. So it works fine because I don't really use that RSV. It's one of my favorite Bibles. I just don't use it much. I don't have an opportunity to use it as much, even though it's amazing. So I think I'm going to skip that. Okay. All right. Next, I have this very thick white. I mean, look at that sucker. That thing has to be at least a ½ an inch thick. That's no good. I mean, that's really... I don't even know where I got that. You know what? I'm just going to throw that away. The next thing I have is this black. And considering this is a black hardcover, it's a more of a... It's kind of a textured black. It's not a silky black. It's very textured. My only fear is that I don't have enough to do it. I do. Well, looking at it, I may have enough for 2 ribbons. I want to get 2 ribbons out of this. If I use this, this will be probably the last that I use this because I'm running out. I used this on some other books that I had, not Bibles, but books, and it works pretty well. Like I said, it's very rugged, a little bit of texture. The last one I have, which I was debating, is this blue satin ribbon, which is probably the nicest ribbon I have. And although it is nice, I use this for my New Revised Standard Version, the New Oxford Annotated New Revised Standard Version Bible. And when I zip it along the page, it actually has cut and ripped the page before. It's very thin, very hardy. So when you're taking it out and zipping it across the page, you can catch and rip the page. So this is probably the nicest I have, and it probably look nice, but it's really too thick for a Bible this size. I really need this kind of ribbon with this kind of width down the road. Yeah, this is like thinner. This is a little thick. This is good for study Bibles, even though it has the it can threaten to tear the page. But for a Bible this size, I really need to get this nice texture in this width. So what we're going to do is go with the black. All right. First of all, when you're adding a ribbon to the Bible, you have to see what's going on with the headband and tailband. Most Bibles that are sewn, the tailband is actually pasted onto the block. And so what you have to do is, let me get my tools here. Come here, tool. You have to, very carefully, using some form of tool. Oh, come on, tool. You're such a tool. There we go. you have to kind of, usually on most Bibles, separate the headband from the block. But interestingly, when I was looking through this Bible, noting all of its brilliance and in a $5 Bible, I noticed that the head and tail band, well, at least the headband, I didn't check the tail band, I don't need to. The headband is separate from the block, so you can go right down there, and it's basically pasted onto the liners, to the edge of the liners. So considering it's not separated, or it's not a part of the block, I don't need to separate it. Usually if you do a ribbon on like a sewn Bible, you would have to separate the headband from the block very carefully, space it out, put your ribbons in, and then glue it, and then put the headband back on the block. Now, if I'm gluing ribbons in here, I may shimmy this back on and paste it to the block just to give it a little bit more reinforcement, but it doesn't need to. Okay, next thing we need to do is make sure we have enough. So I'm going to basically go very far. This is way more than what I need. Yep. And cut that. All right. Cut. So what we're going to do is we're going to put this down here. We're going to have what I call an Old Testament ribbon and a New Testament ribbon. And so you want to get it down there straight, but the trick is to paste it. Now, if you look, you'll see that these ribbons are about as thick as the, I don't want to say as thick as the binding, but when I add a second one, it's only going to have room for 2, which is fine. I don't need 3. But you can see it's pretty good set in there. It's gonna work really well. And before I set it and glue it, or I glue it, and when I set it, I want to make sure that it's going to be straight. All right, so I'm going to get my glue. All right, I'm going to get my little tail band. I'm going to get a sheet of paper, scrap sheet of paper. All right, I'm going to do this right on top of here. And get my little ribbon and glue, just like old school. You used to eat the glue. Don't eat the glue. Don't put the glue on your hand and scrape it off like you're a lizard that's shedding. Okay, I'm gonna add a good amount of glue. You think, oh, Elmer's white glue. Yeah, man. Elmer's white glue works awesome on projects, you know? Elmer's white glue is really tough. It's versatile, it dries easy, and okay, I don't want to do that. I don't want to get glue on the book, but that's okay. I just need to get it in there. Get in there, glue. All right. Just want to get it in there. All right. Elmer's glue is quite versatile. Okay, what you do is, by the way, I'm not an expert. I don't know what I'm doing half the time, but I'm gonna lick my thumb and just get the extra glue off. I'm gonna get my little tool, get some extra glue off here. All right, you clean it off. Good. All right, let me see here. Want to make sure there is none on the block, and if there's some, it's all right. It's not going to kill it. You know, it's a cheap Bible anyway. It's a $5 Bible. What do you expect? And then I'm going to come around back. Well, I'm going to stick it right here. Quick. Make sure it's on. Now, I want to get my second ribbon on. But it dries fast. Look at that. Got right to the end of the ribbon. That's the end of the road. Just made it. Not only dries fast, but it dries really hardy, and it dries clear, which is really good. You want something that dries clear, because if you do get it on the block or somewhere, you can wipe as much of it off. Like I said, I'm sure people would do this better than I do, but I don't care. If I cared about what people thought, I wouldn't be reviewing old Bibles that are worthless as far as values go. If you want really good Bibles with, like, you know, bindings and fancy stuff, go to the other channels. Me, I like personality. I grew up in an age, in a town, in a family, blue-collar family, where everything was secondhand. But because everything is secondhand, you got to fix things yourself and make things valuable because of what they mean to you, not because of their value, their intrinsic value. So we here at the Egg Benedictus household make our own value and ascribe our own value to things. Things like family time and gaming. Now, if you close this, it'll automatically make it taut. Okay. So when I get there, keep it there for a little bit. And by the way, the value is in the fact that it's God's Word. The binding is just icing on the cake. Makes it nice to hold. It makes it nice bindings. Make it and nice, word size and all that makes it easy to read, which is important. But remember, they sell Bibles at the dollar store. If you can't get a nice Bible, just go to the dollar store. You can get a King James version for $1 and hand it out. They're not that great, but remember, it's God's Word, and that's what counts. As you'll see, I really have to wait for it to dry, but what I'm going to do after it dries is I'll put it in, and then I'll get the length that I want, and I'll use this just as an example. And I'll bevel it like so. Oops, that's not beveled. That's not beveled. I'll bevel it, and then after that, I'll get a lighter, and I have these old matches. I'll get a light. Okay, do. Strike it. Oh, it broke. See, I even have old matches that don't even work. This box, how old is this box? This box is like 1,000 years old. Everything I have is old. Doesn't even work. Cheap thing. There we go. And what you do is you get a candle or a match or something, and then you just slowly put it to the edge, and you'll see it react to the fire like so. And there you go. Then you have your edge that won't fray. So that's how you do it. You don't touch the flame to the edge. You just bring it close enough to where the edge reacts to the fire. And you can actually shape it, sharpen it with the flame, because you can control where the heat hits and go from there. So this has to sit and dry. I'm going to let it dry for about 4 or 5 hours. And then I'll come back. I'll wrap it through the Bible like they're supposed to be wrapped. And then I'll bevel the edge, burn the edge, and then I'll have my double ribbons and make sure it's straight. Okay? And that's how you add ribbons to the Bible. Again, this is easier because I didn't have to separate the headband or the tailband. And because of that, it's just way easy. Usually when you separate the headband and put them in, when you glue the ribbons, you can glue both sides, throw it in, and then close it, and that brings the headband to a nice fastened position. Okay, you'll need a flat tool like this to separate such a thing. This is like a nail file that I picked up along the way. I collect old tools, I have like a dowel tool. This is for like paper making. All kinds of old matches, match boxes. Look at this from Kmart. Look at that vintage thing. Isn't that cool? And all kinds of other stuff that I have around here. Well, thank you for joining me. I just made this Pew Bible that much better. I'm going to try to get some use out of it. Every now and then I make it's called a short, which is a video that's 58 seconds or less. And I'll do one of this, me using it in Bible study for the fun of it. Thank you for joining me, and I'll talk to you soon. It's a cat. Sweetie. Hey, sweetie. 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 You're not looking at me? Are you being snooty? Sweetie. You're being snooty.